A very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch powered by HSBC. I'm Priya Sheikh, and you're joining us on this very interesting panel discussion on the whole used car space. And before I dive into the discussion, I want to introduce you to all the panelists out here. We have with us Rajat Mahajan, who is a partner at Deloitte India. We have Vaibhav Sharma, who's the founder and CEO at CarzSo. And we have Akshay Singh, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Droom. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. I want to begin with you, Rajat, to talk a little bit about the used car space. We've seen so many unicorns over the last year, and we've seen the space grow by leaps and bounds. Tell us a little bit about what's been driving growth in the space.
First of all, thanks for having me here, Priya. See, it's a fundamental problem, right? Whenever you have, on one hand, one customer who's trying to buy something and another one who's trying to sell. And then there is a lot of lack of transparency, trust, as well as, the discovery of price is very difficult, right? It was bound to give, birth to all the great unicorns as well as startups that we are seeing in this market. So I would say that that's the primary driver of this whole emergence of the used car market, and especially the largest trend that we are seeing right now is converting that into, the unorganized sector into an organized sector. Right, because in India we have, a large number of traditional used car dealers, right? 40, 50,000 or so. You still say, right, 1,500 to 2,500 are the big guys, right? But at the end of the day, when the customers, the day is spoiled by choices, thanks to all the online shopping, buying, everything that is being done. Now, this entire emergence of the organized e-commerce play, and especially on the omni-channel front, is giving a lot of fillip to it. And a few other demand drivers that I see, right, is on the non-metro demand, right? Earlier, this entire used car market was, completely restricted to a few large cities. Now the demand from two tier has increased significantly, right? If I look at the last 4 years, it has now moved from 55% to nearly 75%. NBFC funding disbursement for the new car loans have registered the highest growth rates, right? That's another big leap, honestly speaking, because in India, a large part of these purchases are funded by some bank or the financial institution. Rapid changes in technologies, right? Because the new vehicles are having short lifespans in terms of variants, etc. So because of this short lifespan, because earlier it used to be a 6-7 years facelift and 3-4 years of variant change, now the entire cycle is changing. So the customer also wants to upgrade into a new product or a new model. And hence, right, I mean, the easiest thing for the customer to do is first try out the used car and then move into a new, the brand of the choice, so to say. Last point I'd like to make over here is this market, honestly speaking, if we follow the people always compare, right? I mean, the number of cars per 1,000 people, etc. Right? That's a driver for new cars as well as used cars, subsequently. I think in India, it is going to probably grow a little faster compared to the rest of the market now in the next 3 to 5 years time frame, because we did not have these startups. We did not have the, excuse me, the relevant technologies in place to make some of these things happen, to bring the entire smart app, the entire, the super apps and the entire alliances and the ecosystem play, which is going to happen, which is already happening, and probably it will happen in a much faster.
Right. Thanks for that, Rajat, for giving us an overview of the whole market. I want to come to you, Akshay, to talk a little bit about how Droom has really grown over the last year and what the roadmap for 2022 looks like, considering that, Droom has also gone ahead, filed a DRHP, etc.
Sure. So in terms of growth, I'll echo some of the points that Rajat mentioned. Right, post-COVID, we have seen a lot of demand shift away from public transportation to personal mobility, away from ride-sharing and the likes of Uber, Ola towards personal mobility. And because of the financial uncertainty, there has been a shift in demand towards used vehicles compared to new vehicles. Another factor that is driving the growth of used vehicles is the supply crunch on the new vehicle side, right? Where you would have heard of semiconductor shortage, which has really elongated the waiting periods for buying a new car, right? And because of that, and given the situation out there, a lot of people are preferring to go for a used vehicle. So all of that has boosted our business quite rapidly right? And then in terms of the way ahead and how we are planning about things, again, I'll echo a couple of points that Rajat mentioned. Firstly, we do expect to see more and more of the market move online. There we are already that has always been our key business model. And we'll continue seeing or benefiting from the shift to online. Second thing that we are also seeing is a shift in demand away from the metros, the tier 1 cities, to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, as the people in these cities get wealthier in terms of income, as the infrastructure in these cities improves. We believe that over the next 5 years, almost 70% of the used car demand would come from tier 2, tier 3 and beyond cities, right? So that's the second key trend that we are looking at capturing. The third one is, as the quality of vehicles improves, and again, the aspiration levels of Indian consumers improves, there is a demand for, the next car. So a slightly bigger car, an SUV, right? We see a lot of people moving up the value chain, like a two-wheeler person buying their first car, or a first-time buyer buying their second car, which typically tends to be larger and more comfortable for a bigger family. So those are some of the areas that we would be focusing on. So expanding beyond the large cities and focusing more on the larger SUVs and premium vehicles.
Right, interesting perspective there, Akshay. Thanks for that. Vaibhav, I want to come to you to talk to you a little bit about the kind of trends that you've seen evolving. Do you see similar trends evolving in the space? Tell us a little bit about how your experience has been.
My understanding is that pre-owned cars market was already there. It has been growing for last 10 years. The shift has come into the organized side of it. People are now moving from unorganized channels to organized channels. And then digitization has been happening. There are many online players. And so same thing has been coming with us. We are following, the growth has been coming from non-metro cities, and our focus has been in those areas. Plus, in terms of moving towards digitization, we are working on virtual reality kind of technology. So yes, the growth has been there over last 2 years. Because of COVID, the technology is being further used to allow home test drives and online visibility of cars, giving them pictures, everything, showing cars online. So digitization and non-metro cities has been the key focus for us. And yes, then going forward over next 5 years, the growth is further expected. And new cars versus pre-owned cars, the growth, pre-owned cars has been overgrowing the new car market. And the number was somewhere around 1.2, 1.3 times the new car market, which is as of today 1.5 times. And we are seeing it to be increased to around 2 times the new car market. So yes, the demand has been coming in the pre-owned car market, and that is where we are also playing.
Right. Rajat, I'd like to bring you in to understand whether technology will be the key driver for the used car market, and how the kind of role the technology will play in the whole growth of this market going forward.
So the technology or the digital things is going to be a driver, but actually the fundamental at the core of it is the experience, right? Because if the customer gets the right experience, they get the right trust. Because imagine, right? I mean, you try and buy or sell a car, what happens, right? I mean, am I getting the right price for it? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Second is, when will I get the money, right? Because you've used to hear horror stories, etc. People get the money after a month, 2 months, etc. So if the technology is being put to use for resolving and taking care of some of these customer concerns, right? I think that is the table stakes fundamentals. The next level, which is the differentiation aspects, because everybody is going to come out with, and not only the startups are also enabling a lot of OEMs to actually become more digital from a used car perspective. But the point is going to be that the differentiation will come when you provide more services, right, to the customer, which is easy. It's not something that it becomes a very complex thing, because it's not like I'm buying groceries, which is I'm going to buy every week, right? Or every, if not every week, every alternate week. I will make this particular, this event will come probably once in a year or once in a few years, so to say, for the customer. So how do you take care of the customer during that event, expand that entire interaction, after the entire sale or purchase transaction, so that the customer gets locked in? So that's the second level of differentiation that the technology ideally should bring, and I hope that it will bring. And the eventual stage, I would say that if you look at the travel and hospitality sector, I'm just trying to draw a parallel, right? I mean, there are the online players, right? Eventually, they took away a lot of margins from the hotels. Okay, and eventually, right, what happens that the hotels and the online players had some sort of an issue between them, the conflict, the classic channel conflict that we say. So the third part is that as long as all these channels, all these players who are emerging are able to mutually, share the benefit and eventually giving the maximum return to the customer is going to be the long-term thing. Otherwise, I see in the next few years, right, a lot of such startups, a lot of these players will emerge, it will consolidate, and eventually then we will see probably, from 2024 or 25 onwards, the stable used car journey to which Weber was saying, hopefully, Weber, we will touch 2.1 of the number that you're talking about.
Right. I want to bring you both in, Akshay and Weber, to talk a little bit about what the future of your companies is in terms of which categories do you expect will do well and what the kind of roadmap is. Because, when you talk about long-term strategy, of course, there are several growth pillars that you focus on. So, let me begin with you, Akshay, to talk a little bit about what Droom's plan is going forward. Are there new categories that you're looking at launching into? What's the kind of game plan?
Sure. So, one of the things that differentiates Droom from some of the other players in the market is that at Droom, you can buy anything on wheels, anything that gets you from point A to point B, whether it's cars or two-wheelers, scooters, electric vehicles, or anything under the sun, right? For example, we also have, bicycles and even listings for planes on the website, right? So, we are going to continue investing in categories beyond cars as well. Within cars, as I spoke earlier, our more on the premium segment, because we do see more and more of the demand, especially from second, third time buyers moving towards that side. And the focus will be on geographic expansion within India, into the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which are going to command a larger share of the overall market. Then going back to an interesting point that Rajat mentioned, right? A car buying or a vehicle buying journey is not just about the asset or the vehicle. It's also about the services associated with it, right? So for example, especially when it comes to buying a used vehicle, a buyer doesn't know whether the vehicle is in the right condition or not. Buyer doesn't know whether they are being charged the right price for it or not. They don't know whether there's any outstanding police fine on it, any outstanding loans on that vehicle or not. So just answering all of these questions for the buyer, building the trust in the buyer to make that process of buying a used vehicle more seamless and more hassle-free. That's another focus area of ours. And we do that by building multiple products like OBV, Eco History, etc. Another important aspect of the buying journey is access to finance, right? And other financial services like loans, right? In India, there is still, I would say, some disparity in terms of the number of people who want loans versus the number of people who are eligible for loans. And we are working with our various financing partners, banks, and BFCs in order to bridge that gap. That's going to be another growth driver for us. Then, because we are a technology-focused company and we have built a platform which solves this problem in a fundamental manner, we believe that this can also be replicated in other markets similar to India. Specifically, we are looking at Southeast Asia and Middle East, and at a later point of time, Africa, to launch these products and become an online auto e-commerce platform in these markets.
Right, Weber, would you like to comment out here?
So Priya, we launched in 2019 with a vision of taking the auto retail industry virtual. So our focus has been to build a technology which can take this industry online, and we want to stay in forefront as the market goes there. So we have a presence in multiple cities, 3 odd cities as of now to start with, and we are working with a limited resources. With the resources, we want to build and reach to a level from where we can scale up and grow geographically. So our key focus has been around building virtual reality technology, initially to start with in pre-owned cars industry. At some point in time, we would also like to go into new car industry and probably two-wheelers also, EV two-wheelers specifically. As everybody has been agreeing, the demand has been coming from non-metro cities, and that is where we have been growing. We plan on reaching around 8 cities by end of this financial year, and then trying to capture North India specifically by end of next financial year. We are heavily focusing on improving our digital virtual presence by building virtual reality technology and keep improving it. We are in fact also exploring metaverse and will be filing some patents around the virtual reality technology. So I am agreeing with the demand has been coming from non-metro cities and technology. At some point in time, see, as of today, nobody is going to buy cars online, even if we give them whatever customer experience we can. But at some point in time, with right technology, with right marketing, the market is going online. So we have to keep our base strong. We provide good customer experience, work on the right technology and right brand. We definitely will be able to change and take this physical market online over next few years. That is the key focus for us as of now.
All right. On that note, panelists, thank you very much for joining in. It's really been a pleasure speaking to all of you. And I'm sure that the audience has a lot of takeaways from this panel. Thanks so much for your time.